the cannonball delts, look at that. Look at these delts and traps. That would even impress and perhaps make Derek from More Plates and More Dates a little jealous. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today I wanted to talk about Billy Ralph, pictured here from this image that has been recently circulating around social media, showing this young guy ripped or at least quite lean and very, very muscular. The picture was taken approximately in 1925 and shows a bodybuilder called Billy Ralph in a front double biceps pose. We can see the marvelous, natural, drug-free development of this athlete at a time before the discovery and well before the synthesis of testosterone or any other anabolic agent. It is obvious that this young guy was very well developed and genetically gifted, especially in the biceps, and had an overall athletic and aesthetic physique, with wonderful muscle separation. It is said that he was a student of Maxick, the German strongman and bodybuilder and practitioner of Maxalding, otherwise known as muscle control. What is muscle control, you might be asking? Well, muscle control teaches one to voluntarily isolate, contract, and relax your muscles in a progressive way without the need of mechanical actions of the desired muscle groups. In many ways, I like to think of it as the mastery of the muscle-mind connection that is so talked about by bodybuilders but not practiced nowadays. The principal goal of Maxalding is the overall control of the body and mind, called will. That is, the will to voluntarily control one's muscles. In practicing, one learns to control and increase one's concentration and willpower. In many ways, it is very much like advanced yoga and qigong methods practiced in the East. And it does sound pretty powerful, right? Need proof that it works? Well, just look at this amazing photo again of Billy Ralph. There's your proof. I mean, damn. Let's just actually look at some of these photos I found of Billy Ralph while researching online. And I mean, this guy was both muscular and ripped, wasn't he? I mean, no wonder this image just went viral. Awesome biceps. They're like mountains, really. Great arms overall. And other than that, you know, he wasn't overly developed, let's be honest. He was very athletic and aesthetic. Who wouldn't want a physique like that? Great definition in the abs and quads. Very well separated. You know, not an ounce of fat around that waistline. You can even see some veins there. It's amazing. Even veins down his thighs. I should say down his calves. Pretty amazing. Let's go to the next image now. Next image, I mean, damn, this most muscular shot, you know, is pretty awesome too. We can still see his awesome arm development. Even the split, even though he's holding his arms down, you can even see the split in his biceps. Again, great abdominal development, separation, etc. But a pretty decent chest, you know, it's got some good striation there. I mean, mind you, these photos aren't the best quality from, 100 years ago, but the cannonball delts, look at that. Look at these delts and traps. That would even impress and perhaps make Derek from More Plates and More Dates a little jealous, seeing that this guy was so genetically gifted and natural. Next shot. Here is the same shot again, but of course it's a full shot. Again, great thigh separation. Now we can appreciate his thigh separation. Again, we're not talking about big, ramy, overly developed thighs. You know, it's just a great, most muscular shot. Absolutely. Next shot. Let's have a look. Okay, now here is an image I really wanted to talk about. This arms overhead back shot allows us firstly to appreciate his excellent delt development and arm development. We can actually see all the 7 heads of, or I should say the 7 origins of the deltoid musculature. Yes, there are 7 origins and insertions of the delt musculature. And we can also appreciate, of course, his excellent arm development. We can really see the brachialis here, great brachialis development. But, of course, those glutes, man, I mean, they are striated almost. That's how developed this guy was. And who dares say that Rich Gaspari from the 80s and 90s was the first man with shredded glutes? Please, let's put that debate or that discussion to end right now. This guy's glutes are completely okay, I'll be honest. This guy's glutes are not completely shredded, but pretty shredded for the time. I mean, we're talking about the 1920s here, 1925 at most. That's almost 100 years ago, well before the development of steroids and testosterone. Pretty amazing stuff. Billy was a student of the Maxalding system and often appeared in Maxalding advertisements like these, and it was introduced as Student Ralph. And Billy Ralph claims to have never used weights to develop his physique. I know it's a pretty far-fetched claim for most of us, but when we consider the types of physiques that could be achieved through the Maxalding system, such as Alan Mead, who suffered the loss of one leg during World War I and still managed to develop one of the greatest natural physiques from the Bronze Era, you start to realize that there perhaps is some merit to the system that was popular for almost 1 century. Just look at these photos of Monte Saldo and Maxick, founders of what was once called the Maxaldo system and then later named the Maxalding system. Their physiques are balanced, athletic, bursting with vitality, and lean and muscular, both looking like they were carved out of marble stone. So what was the routine that Billy Ralph used to develop such a physique, you might be asking? Well, Billy used a combination of training methods and principles that included muscle control, peak contractions, and body weight leverage exercises, all which was part of the Maxalding system. Quickly looking at each of these principles of the Maxalding system, which I have to say was very complex and very advanced, even by today's standards, muscle control exercises taught you to isolate, contract and relax each major muscle of the body, and were usually held for around 5 seconds and up to 10 seconds each. I need to emphasize as well just now that this was unlike dynamic tension, but a way more advanced method of training. These movements were not purely contracting or pitting one arm against the other, but way more systematic. For example, while performing a muscle control contraction, the contraction was not a complete all-out artery bursting contraction, but a controlled contraction that could be sustained even while moving. Peak contractions, as the name suggests, however, involved maximal contractions of the muscle being exercised for several seconds, followed by complete relaxation. Finally, body weight leverage exercises involved using muscle control to perform exercises such as 2-arm and 1-arm chin-ups, push-ups, squats, etc., of which the aim was to harmonize the motion of the whole body and demonstrate function and strength gained through muscle control. In this way, the muscle control trainee, called a Maxaldist, would learn the ability to apply his learned muscle control to sports. It is interesting to note how different these principles sound to today's simple application and execution of the push-up or chin-up, or the actual lifting of a weight. I ask you, how many of you actually think about controlling your muscles in such a synchronous fashion when lifting a weight, when walking, or when doing any kind of motion? This is the level of depth of muscle control. One learns to control one's musculature so much that you can literally isolate and control any muscle you desire or work them in synchrony, relaxing and contracting the exact and necessary muscles for any movement at any time. For the execution of each muscle control exercise, it is important to understand that each exercise repetition lasted about 10 seconds and was composed of 3 to 4 stages, although today I will just focus on 3 stages. These included a 6-second long contractile movement along with a simultaneous complete relaxation of the antagonist muscle, followed by a stretch of the contracted muscle for a few seconds. It is easy to see that because each contractile movement went for 6 seconds, that time under tension therefore was employed, and at times up to a 10-second contraction could be employed. Although this is a simplification of the type of routines used by Maxalding students, a student as advanced as Billy Ralph would most likely have trained 6 days a week using such a routine. Understand that a true student of Maxalding would train his entire full body every day, as the exercises were not meant to tire you at all, but bring vigor and a sense of vitality and strengthen you in a way very different to today's methods of bodybuilding. Here is a sample routine that Billy Ralph most likely used. Day 1. Static muscle control, 1 set of 2 to 5 reps, each contraction performed over 6 seconds for each agonist and antagonist body parts, performed for all body parts, followed by self-resistance exercises for all body parts. And these self-resistance exercises, I have to admit, were actually quite similar to the dynamic tension. Again, 2 to 5 reps would be performed. Each movement would last for about 6 seconds, after which there would be a phase of relaxation and stretching. Day 2, ballistic muscle control exercises would be performed, and the performance is simply just quick successive and alternating contractions and relaxations of the isolated muscle for 10 to 30 repetitions. For example, for the arms, the action would simulate a rapid and rhythmic bicep contraction whilst then working the triceps in triceps extensions. This could be performed with, for example, a light dumbbell, very similar, of course, then being to the light dumbbell system. This is followed by virtual lifting movements such as dynamic muscle control, that is, using muscle control to perform weightlifting motions such as the 2 hands press and 2 hands clean and jerk with a light dumbbell for a beginner, an empty barbell for an intermediate student, or a light barbell for an advanced student. Only 2 to 5 reps would be performed, and each repetition would be performed very, very slowly. And with advanced athletes, each repetition could take up to 1 to 2 minutes long. Of course, odd lifts were also trained, but all performed under muscle control, so as to not just lift the weight rapidly with brute force. Having said all this, and before I go on to day 3, I hope you start seeing the complexity now of muscle control. I mean, it's got elements of the light dumbbell system, of dynamic tension, but it's not those systems at all. It is much more advanced. Day 3. 1 session of muscle-controlled bodyweight leverage exercises such as push-ups, chin-ups, and squats of all variations, and more advanced exercises such as 1 arm, 1 leg push-ups, 1 arm chin-ups, pistol squats, hand balancing, etc., etc. These are very advanced exercises, handstand dips, and these would be performed for 2 to 5 repetitions per exercise. Again, at advanced level, each repetition could take 1 to 2 minutes long as well. The Maxalding student would then finish off with peak contraction exercises for each body part, 2 to 5 repetitions with each maximal contraction held for 10 seconds, with a relaxation and massage that would follow. This muscle control program would be performed twice a week, meaning a student like Billy Ralph would be training, as I said, 6 days a week. As a final note, I would like to state that this video is by no means a complete discourse into the Maxalding system as used by Billy Ralph, Monte Saldo, and Maxick. At best, it is an introduction to satisfy the recent social media demands of finding out more about this physical culturist called Billy Ralph and the system of bodybuilding that he used, especially after this image went viral. Billy Ralph, mind you, was by no means massive, but possessed an athletic physique. However, he did have great biceps genetics, we have to admit. But to reiterate, the Maxalding system was extremely complex, and like the light dumbbell system, which also used weightlifting and body leverage exercises, could develop light athletic physiques such as these. I've been reading close to 10 books on the subject recently, as well as a 250-page thesis written by a current practitioner and fellow academic named Professor Juan Antonio Martinez Rojas, from Spain, who I'm hoping to bring onto my channel by interviewing him on the Maxalding system, which I hope to learn much more about. From my limited understanding, the Maxalding system and muscle control was much like the principle of Professor Attila's light dumbbell system, but again, much more complex. If you have studied the light dumbbell system like I and my colleague William Harper have, and yes, we are writing a series of books on the complexity of the light dumbbell system, you would find that the light dumbbell system has many levels of mastery that help synchronize the body's ability to move, that is, the muscle's ability to contract and relax at will, and I have to say that the methods of the light dumbbell system alone are very advanced as well. I can only imagine that the muscle control, the muscle control system, which was performed with the aid of a light dumbbell or a spring grip dumbbell, would have been even more difficult, because the ability to have complete voluntary control of one's muscles, that is, the ability to voluntarily contract and relax a muscle without resistance, is very, very challenging. If I was to compare then or grade the muscle control system with other systems and even to posing, well, then you would have to kind of grade it in such a way. In the level of complexity, I would rate modern day posing as being like a kindergarten level of muscle control, followed by Charles Atlas's dynamic tension being more like primary school, followed by the light dumbbell system being more advanced like secondary school, and finally muscle control being like a university level and at an academic level, if you want to call it that. That is the level of complexity of the Maxalding system, and like advanced yoga, martial arts, and qigong, we're talking about practices that take a lifetime to master. Understand that these men were masters of their minds and bodies and souls, true artists and masters of physical culture and muscle control, and their physiques should sing volumes of their mastery. Now, I know a lot of people out there will be hating on this video and calling BS on the Maxalding system, but I am only relaying information here. I also have to point out that in defense of both Maxick and Monte Saldo, they stated that muscle control alone could never produce maximal muscle size, strength, and development. And this comes directly from Maxick's muscle control book. And that muscle control combined with weightlifting, in fact, would allow the trainee to reach his or her highest level of development of strength and muscular size. These are the quotes from both Monte Saldo and Maxick. Both Monte Saldo and Maxick admit to the use of weights as well, especially for building up their tendon strength, and no doubt this added to their own more massive muscular size and strength. Maxick himself was a gymnast. This is an important point to note, that muscle control practice was purely for the mastery of voluntary control of muscles in all movements. This should be obvious too, as the Silver Era and Golden Era produced more massive muscular physiques as the weights and poundages went up, of course. To repeat, Maxick and Monte Saldo both stated that in order to excel in strength, one would have to practice the lifts for this purpose too. One needs to practice for the desired task at hand, so to speak. Again, this should be obvious. Further, it is well known that Eugene Sandow, Edward Aston, William Pullum, John Grumick, Charles Atlas, and John Farbotnik, Walt Baptiste, etc., all bodybuilders and strongmen also advocated the use of muscle control. So I do hope you have enjoyed this look at Billy Ralph, but not just Billy Ralph, as you can tell, but at Monte Saldo and Maxick, who developed the Maxalding system, which, in all honesty, that's what this video was truly about, an introduction into the Maxalding system. Of course, which Billy Ralph used to develop his athletic and aesthetic physique. I'm not saying that's all he used, that's what he claims, but even in the Maxalding system, you were supposed to use some weights at least. I do promise to bring more about this fascinating philosophy and practice of bodybuilding and physical culture to this channel, and we'll try to learn more about it, because in all honesty, I am fascinated about the topic of muscle control and overall about the training methods of the Bronze Era athletes. If you have enjoyed this video, please give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and please leave me your comments and click the bell button to be notified of future videos. Anyway, that's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. As a natural bodybuilder, it is imperative to know your own testosterone levels, as they are a reflection of the anabolic environment created by your diet and training. I would highly recommend using the male hormone test kit from Let's Get Checked, and make sure you use my code GOLDEN30 for a 30% discount. Again, the advantage of checking yourself regularly is that you will know how well your body is anabolically primed to put on the much desired muscle you are working for. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Vince Gironda's approach to bodybuilding, his principles, and all these tips of wisdom that he has, I mean, there's so much stuff that probably hasn't been proven by science, and it will take science to prove or disprove Vince. But to be honest, these 3 books
I believe, which I call the Classic Physique Bundle, are the best books that Vince ever came out with. And they, of course, are the Wild Physique, the Master Series, and the Pro Series. Have a look at it this way. The Wild Physique, I believe, is like the ABCs of Vince Gironda's principles to bodybuilding. He teaches you the exercises and his principles. But how do you put them together? Well, the Master Series is a 14-month program of using all of these principles, all of the diets that Vince came out with, all of the exercises. And believe me, it's a brilliant, brilliant program. Many people have used it. I know personally a lot of bodybuilders that have actually used it and made fantastic results with it. And of course, the Pro Series was a book that he came out with later on, specially targeted for getting into competition. It's just these three books, as I call it, the Classic Physique Bundle, Vince's best work, and available, of course, at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Now, the Pro Series of Bodybuilding, which was targeted for professional bodybuilders, contains 6 programs, each of which go for 2 months each. So it's a whole year, again, in preparation for competition. Online training is now available, including my new program, Novice to Classic, a program geared towards beginners and novices looking at developing a classic physique, as well as Classic Cut, geared at those who wish to lose weight and gain muscle fast. Details available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Need a bodybuilding poster for your gym or office? Then check out Iron Man Magazine archive.smugmug.com for the highest quality posters on the planet. Scroll through the galleries of all the legends, including greats such as Arnold, Frank Zane, Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, Tom Platz, and Larry Scott, and much, much more, and select your poster now. To support your favorite YouTube channel, please visit teespring.com/stores/goldenerabookworm for merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, phone cases, and much, much more. Once again at teespring.com/stores/goldenerabookworm. Become a patron at www.patreon.com/goldenerabookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding.
I don't think that Bill Phillips looked at it as, I want to compete against them. I want to destroy them.
If they pass legislation basically making any type of food supplement a prescription item, that would be the end, the death of the entire food supplement industry.
Take your vitamin pill now.
In the 1960s, the sports supplement industry was barely emerging.
I think the reason why Joe Weider was so successful was he had Arnold on his side.
He wasn't selling supplements. He was in the dream business.
Joe Weider was a marketing genius.
People would say the promotions or the endorsements back then were cheesy. To me, it wasn't. I loved it.
Fitness was taking off. Fitness became cool. You had a lot of readers that wanted to be like the stars that they idolized.
Bill's strength is his marketing savvy. He's a marketing genius.
Got it. It's only vitamin.
The right of American citizens to have free access to dietary supplements of their choice.
Consult your physician. You might as well consult the next guy you meet on the street. They don't know a damn thing about vitamins and nutrition.
The dietary supplement industry became the #2 most regulated industry. Nuclear, dietary supplements, pharmaceutical. We're more regulated than drugs.
They come in and you need to allow the FDA. They have jurisdiction.
The enforcement is kind of the questionable side of it, and how do they really get a handle on this monster?
A lot of people tell me that the dietary supplement industry is completely unregulated. It's the wild, wild west out there. It's a free-for-all. That could not be further from the truth.
A dietary supplement is not allowed to have a side effect. I always say that pharmaceutical has to have a minimum of 100 side effects in order for it to be a drug.
And now, it's a $40 billion industry and growing.
That's the really interesting thing, is the cast of characters from the 80s, when it was kind of iffy, to now when it's a lot more legitimate.
They made it sound cutting edge, revolutionary, and different, and I want that. That's cool.
We are in this industry to improve our health. It's not just a vanity project here. We're working on our lifeline. We eat a certain way to improve our health. We train a certain way to improve our health. Supplements are just that. They supplement your work, your graft, your nutrition.
They demonize dietary supplements, but they say all you need is real food. Well, what's a real food?
They pump you up and get you hard, stronger. faster, bigger.
Doc, I want to take this weight gain. I want to take this pre-workout. Doctor's, no way. That stuff, we don't know what's in that. It could be, no way. I'm not going to give you, it's going to kill the industry, bottom line.
So I must have drank so much protein powder from age 15 to 18 that my head was going to explode.
I believed in metrics so much that I would probably punch somebody in the face if they tried to take it away from me.